Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Carlos McConney.
Howdy, everyone. How's it going? Thanks for joining me on this edition of Euromaxx highlights. It should be a fun half hour. Let's begin by taking a quick look at what we have coming up for today's show. Love affair, why Germans give their cars nicknames. Looking good, designer spectacles from Berlin are in hot demand. Open spaces, Le Valet is a talented street artist from Paris. To start the show, we will be visiting a famous German Christmas market, and that is where we will have the chance to taste a very special holiday treat. But first, take a look at this. The oldest German Christmas market is in Dresden, dating back more than 500 years. Its most famous specialty is the traditional Dresden Stollen, a type of special Christmas cake which is eating all over Germany at this time of the year. One of the most beautiful Christmas markets in all of Europe, according to an online survey, is Aachen. The city is known worldwide for its printed gingerbread. Heidelberg's historic city center includes many small stands spreading about 6 squares. All over Germany, the many Christmas markets around the country help locals and visitors alike get into the very special Christmas mood. But today, we head over to Bremen, where curly kale is on the menu. That's because it is a popular staple of northern Germany's food. Many consider curly kale a superfood, but we are about to rediscover it as the basic ingredient for a tasty traditional German treat.
It is the Advent season in Bremen and time to visit the Christmas market around the 600-year-old town hall and the Bremen Roland, the Hanseatic city's landmark. Together, they've been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2004. Over 160 stands set against the historic backdrop draw more visitors every year. Many want to try typical Bremen specialties like peppermint gluten and curly kale, Bremen style.
It's part of the party season, especially if you like heartier dishes.
Curly kale is the quintessential Bremen winter dish. The vitamin-packed vegetable grows in the region, for instance, on Horst True's farm. The curly-leaved cabbage originated in the eastern Mediterranean region, where it was grown some 2,000 years ago. In Germany, it's a favorite mainly in the north. It's also popular in Central Europe, North America and Africa. Horst True doesn't like to experiment when it comes to preparing it.
For me, kale goes best with cooked or smoked sausage, cured pork and bacon. But when they start molding kale into candy form, I'm not so sure I could eat that. And it's gotta get some frost, because then it turns the starch into sugar.
This typical Bremen winter dish can be found on the Christmas market beside the river Weser. Head chef Egert Röbel prepares the kale for the stand just across the way in his restaurant's kitchen. He agrees with the farmer about the role of frost.
Frost is better for the kale. They've always said that kale tastes best once it's caught a really good frost. That's when it should be harvested, and the bitter compounds are at a minimum.
The kale has to be washed and the stems removed. What comes next differs from region to region in northern Germany. But in Bremen, it goes like this.
We saute the onions in oil and add the kale. Then we pour on some broth, such as cured pork broth, cook it for about an hour, and add knip and smoked sausage. Season it with salt, sugar, a little pepper, some nutmeg, and finally, we add a little mustard.
Then the whole thing has to simmer for 2 hours. Bremen Pinkel is a smoked, fatty sausage with oat and barley groats. It used to be made and smoked at home. The Bremen term brown kale for the green kale originated when it was cooked over an open fire. The smoke colored it brown. From 1545, there are records of the city of Bremen holding an official kale feast as a kind of banquet. Held every February in Bremen City Hall, it's an important social event in the region. Bremen's history is closely tied to the Hanseatic era and shipping. The Christmas market on the banks of the Weser River with its medieval-themed stalls relives this golden age. These stallholders, dressed like Hanseatic merchants, certainly know all about traditional kale dishes.
The first thing I'd recommend would be allspice. It's typical for curly kale.
After a stroll around the historical old town and the market stalls, a stop to warm up is just the thing. A Gert Röbel's stand offers genuine Bremen curly kale to go.
The idea behind the kale box is that you can take it and walk around the Christmas market with it. The advantages are that it keeps your hands warm, you can eat it on the run, and you don't have to get it all over yourself.
Kale goes with fresh smoked pork chops, boiled sausage, and potatoes. But how does it taste from the kale box to go?
Utterly delicious.
I think so too.
Can't do without it.
Bremen's always worth a trip, and the Christmas market is just fantastic. The riverbank is wonderful, and the downtown has its charm.
The northern German city of Bremen in winter is a fairy tale come true.
Some people nickname their pets or even their friends, but we are here to talk about nicknames for cars, like, for example, Silver Arrow, Beetle, or Ducktail. We met with an auto aficionado and artist who has literally turned his passion for vehicles into books and calendars. His real name is Helge Jepsen, but maybe you can come up with a cool nickname for him.
The BMW 501 was nicknamed Baroque Angel due to its curving, flowing lines. Cream Slice is what the French lovingly dubbed the Renault 4CV. But the elephant's roller skate? Ah, that was the Fiat 500. Helge Jepsen has created 2 books on the nicknames of cars.
Cars have had nicknames for as long as they've been around. Take the Model T Ford, known as the Tin Lizzie. So the first series production car already had a nickname. Giving cars nicknames is a century-old tradition. Most got their nicknames because they drove their way into people's hearts.
The German model with the best-known nickname is likely the Beetle or the Bug for the VW Type 1. At the Essen Motor Show, Jepsen sees many cars he's sketched. This Mercedes SL became known as the Pagoda due to the concave shape of its roof. And in the 1950s, the Mercedes 300 SL was called the Gullwing after its striking doors.
It's typically representative of a nickname which focuses on one design detail.
At the motor show, Helge Jepsen also finds models that have yet to make it into one of his books.
I thoroughly enjoy spotting cars I've never seen before. I always wonder if it's got a nickname yet or not.
Jepsen is fascinated by this 1950s era Alfa Romeo. But what kind of car does he drive himself? A Reliant Scimitar. Because the car used this curved sword as its logo and its top speed was over 200 kilometers an hour, Germans dubbed it the Speedy Saber.
You can sense that the metal's getting a workout. It's a curved sword, but rattling saber might fit too. Everything shakes a bit. But all that clattering is just the car telling you, I'm on vacation.
Helge Jepsen has already turned his passion into books and calendars. He's even drawn pictures of cars for top trumps playing cards. Looking at his work, you can see that he prefers older vehicles.
Because, to put it bluntly, all the new cars look the same. They don't have all those little details, like all the chrome into which things like the blinkers were integrated. Older cars have more details, more extras, which makes them more fun to draw.
Even though he hasn't discovered the nickname for this older model Alfa Romeo, he sketches it all the same.
Dann fange ich zum Beispiel
I'll start by looking at a detail,
so ein Detail wie dieses
like this wheel hub.
diese Radnabe an. Fang dann an,
I'll approach it by starting with the little parts.
anzutasten und so klein.
Spoke wheels. You can't be serious.
Das kann doch, das ist
One at the back, another in front. It's enough to drive you nuts.
So, da kommt eine da hinten und da ist noch eine davor. Da wirst du kopfkrank von.
These prototypes at the Essen Motor Show design studies for the cars of the future would be easier to draw. Their rims aren't so filigreed. But these cars are too new to have any nicknames yet.
They're so futuristic that their names will likely turn up in a dictionary a decade from now. Take that one. I'd give it the nickname Boomerang, because of the way the taillights look, like a boomerang. This one looks like a bull. These strange design elements resemble horns. And sooner or later, that black thing back there is going to be called a Batmobile, like everything else that looks black and evil. If these cars are on the road 10 years from now, the streets will look good again.
We can only hope that new and more comprehensive editions of Jepsen's work will follow, because people love their cars and they love to give them pet names too.
Eyewear is in fashion, and if you're looking for a unique pair of glasses, Berlin is probably the best place to find them. The city has become celebrated as a hub for rebellious, free-spirited entrepreneurs whose creativity is their most valuable asset. Several eyewear designers and makers around the city are creating trendy, exclusive frames that have even been worn by more than a few international celebrities.
Striking shapes, unusual materials, and new production methods. These glasses are certainly eye-catching, and they have something else in common. They were all designed in Berlin. The German capital has become the place to find the latest in fashionable eyewear. The designers at Lunettes produce glasses in limited editions of no more than 1,000 pairs. Their latest design, a cooperation with Belgian fashion label Capara, features lenses fastened with rubber bands.
What's special about them is that they're made from one piece of material using a 3D printer. And what's nice is you can use different colors of rubber bands.
Initially, Lunettes sold vintage frames, but increasingly the firm is focusing on its own designs, which Claudia Drechsel and her colleagues sell to customers worldwide. Many fashionistas come to Berlin especially to buy glasses.
There are many labels, such as the big brands, which have established themselves globally, but new editions too. And Berlin boasts many really different styles.
One of the pioneers of the scene was Ralph Andel. He founded the IC Berlin brand back in 1996. It produced lightweight stainless steel frames with a revolutionary screwless hinge system.
The initial design was based on simplicity and the question of which hinge suits the material. You brush the steel with your fingertips and you try to listen to what it's telling you.
Today, IC Berlin is one of Berlin's major eyewear manufacturers. The firm produces its own frames entirely in the German capital. Ralph Andel believes it's no coincidence that many independent labels have set up shop here.
The city does still have a lot of innovative spirit, and it's relatively affordable. You can develop things in a pretty relaxed manner. You don't have to keep your eye on the money straight away, like you do in other cities where you have to be highly efficient. Here you can play around a bit and just sort of ease into the serious business life.
International stars have become fans of German-made glasses. IC Berlin's customers include Brad Pitt, Madonna, and Alicia Keys. British singer Skin and American talk show host Oprah Winfrey swear by glasses from Kubo Home. The brand was founded by 2 Italians living in Berlin. Their heavy acetate frames are their trademark, and their slogan is, "Dreamed in Berlin."
It's a city which gives the possibility to see the world from another point of view. So actually, since we started, we put another point of view in the world of eyewear.
Whether they're well established or new in the business, Berlin designers create glasses for the fashion-conscious avant-garde, not the masses.
Because we don't produce on such a large scale, we're flexible when it comes to sizes and colors. And through our direct contact with our customers, we also hear what needs to be done, what's not available.
Spectacles that are made in Berlin do more than help people see better. They're an eye-catching design accessory.
Very well. We now take a look at an architectural design inspired in part by nautical elements, but for a house on dry land. We move to Finland in Northern Europe, specifically to Karis, near the capital Helsinki, in the southwest of the country on the Baltic Sea coast. A Finnish architect built the house of his dreams in the middle of the forest, and with his single-space design, he intends to reinvent the traditional house of that area. Let's take a closer look.
Marco Casagrande's house is located on the edge of a town about 80 kilometers west of the Finnish capital, Helsinki.
Hello, welcome to the Apelle house.
The Finnish architect has been living here with his wife and 3 children since 2013. The house with its round windows is reminiscent of a ship. The idea came to him during the design process. Casagrande was eager to keep the trees and the rocky outcrops.
So I had to somehow fit in the house in between the pine trees and these rocks, and when I was fitting it in, I started feeling that I'm kind of like sailing the house into this natural harbor. And step by step from that, the phenomena of the boat was coming, that actually it's a ship that is arriving here and finding a natural spot where it can stay.
He wanted to create one big room rather than lots of little ones. A bathroom is concealed in the cube in the center. The architect based his design on a traditional Finnish tupa, a cottage with one space for everyone.
It activates the space totally differently than when you start really like giving specific function for every room. It's boring. Like when you have one big room, it changes according to the time of a day and according to the time of the year. I think it's much more fruitful.
Even the bedroom doesn't have any doors. The space has various zones which fulfill different functions. That has one big advantage. Little of the house's 140 square meters stays unused for long. The space is divided so that members of the family can also find quiet spots here. Marco Casagrande doesn't miss having his own room where he can close the door behind him.
Well, I have that. I go to office. And the kids go to school, and then Nikita has his own house. It's just how the day is functioning. Sometimes we are together, but mostly not. You know, there's a lot of different lives, but still, of course, we are one family. So it's like pulsating, not one fixed condition.
The fireplace is a cozy spot in winter, but the central heating system runs off geothermal energy. The house is made of wood and insulated with wood fiber. No synthetic material has been used. For Marco Casagrande, environmental awareness is something that goes without saying.
I grew up in Lapland, and I was kicked out from home all the time to the forest. I spent more time in forest than home. I came to home to eat and to sleep. And then at some point I was forced to go to school as well. But I really feel home in the forests, and I really love nature.
And with his Apelle house in Finland, Marco Casagrande has got just about as close to nature as you can within 4 walls.
Now to street art, also known by many as graffiti. It has been a part of the urban landscape in big cities for decades. It originally began as a counterculture movement, gaining mainstream attention during the 1980s. Artists who chose the streets to display their work are seen as rejecting the confines of traditional art venues like museums. They're also usually making a statement about society. So we went to see what's happening on the walls of the French capital, Paris.
Paris, a bustling metropolis that's home to 2.2 million people. Its streets and public spaces serve as a canvas for many artists who choose to express themselves in the form of street art. Murals and collages can be found on buildings across the city. Charles Leval, or Le Valet as he's known, belongs to this group of artists. He's trained in visual arts and taught in French schools, yet his preferred platform is Paris's open spaces. He calls this collage human resources.
Here you can imagine a reservoir of employees who are standing by in a cupboard and come out one by one when they're needed. You could see this as a critique of the business world, or even a critique of several other things. But really, there is no specific message here.
Le Valet is fast becoming one of the most famous street artists in Paris. He uses walls and their architectural nuances as a canvas. His pieces are sometimes poetic, sometimes critical, but he leaves the general interpretation up to the viewer.
Each person can take away whatever they want. It's their interpretation. As I've said, there is no strict or clear message.
3 years ago, Le Valet caught the eye of one Parisian gallery owner who was looking to do a project with several street artists in the district of Montmartre. The result was an entire avenue where the building's walls were decorated with various scenes. Now he creates exhibitions for galleries. Not an easy move for a street artist.
It's difficult for a street artist to make the transition to a gallery because of the context. You have either art for the street or for the gallery, and these are two totally different things, so you can't really transfer it. That's what you have to keep in mind.
Le Valet has recently created works which are now on display in Berlin. 2 were pasted on a residential street in the trendy Mitte district, and like the ones in Paris, they add some humor to a drab building wall. Gallery owners, meanwhile, are betting on his future success.
The thing that's different about Charles is that he works according to a plan. That means that each work is thought out and created for a specific location on the street. And to exhibit in a gallery, it's necessary to find a format that corresponds.
Contrary to his works on the street, which carry no particular meaning, his exhibition at the Open Walls Gallery in Berlin is very specific about the physical and mental barriers in our daily lives.
Little Boxes is an exhibition dealing with the subject of the box as an object and also as a symbol. What interested me was to work on the subject of containment. The box is an allegory for all of the boxes that we pass through in our existence. Our house, our car, our office.
Charles Leval expresses his ideas in a humorous yet intense fashion. And even as he gains in popularity on the art scene, he says he's determined to stay true to the streets of Paris.
Well, it looks like we have run out of time for today, but feel free to join our social media communities on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search for Euromaxx and follow our official accounts. If you are in the mood for more Euromaxx, our latest shows are available to stream from our website, so you can enjoy our programming at any time. My friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed the show. I will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.